Nature's arm race began long before life left the water for the land. That exit was partly driven by the need for animals to escape predators. At the beginning of the dinosaur era, some animals were still growing teeth and claws, while others were developing tough armor. One of these armadillos is the subject of our new issue. As you may have guessed, today we're going to tell you about the evolution of ankylosaurs. We remind you that by subscribing to our channel, you could be the first to know when new videos are released, so we advise you to do it right away. We also encourage our viewers to be more active in expressing their opinions on the work of the channel's creators through comments and likes. The species of shelled dinosaur that gave its name to the entire family was discovered in 1908 by the famous American explorer, Barnum Brown. Ankylosaurus turned out to be one of the last non-bird dinosaurs to appear on Earth. It lived at the very end of the Cretaceous period in western North America. It's currently the only species of its kind. The entire family consists of 19 separate genera and a subfamily that includes 7 other genera of Ankylosauridae. Most interestingly, scientists still do not have the complete skeleton of Ankylosaurus. Its appearance is reconstructed from the available scattered specimens and similar bones of related species. This lizard is currently considered to be the largest in its family. Its body length is estimated at between 6 and 10 meters, and its mass at almost 8 tons. The appearance of Ankylosaurus's head is reconstructed by 3 well-preserved skulls, and all these skulls are slightly different from each other. Scientists explain this by the individual characteristics of each one. They also have too little information about how these animals changed as they grew up. The head of Ankylosaurus is triangular, the back is wider and flatter, while the front ends in a beak formed by the premaxillary bones. Round or slightly oval eyes, due to the shape of the head, are not strictly lateral as in other herbivores. It is thought that in earlier ankylosaurids, the ridges were not of the same construction as the horns. This is exactly how they're arranged in the related Pinacosaurus and Euplocephalus. From below, the eyes of ankylosaurs were protected by zygomatic horns that pointed backwards and downwards. Scientists believe they were formed from osteoderms, ossified plates of skin fused to the bones of the skull. In general, the entire head of the Ankylosaurus was covered with so-called cranial plates, a complex bone structure that formed as the animal matured. It was found that young ankylosaurs had gaps between the plates of the head armor. With age, this structure became an almost monolithic defense. The bone scales on the head of different ankylosaurs could differ in shape and size, but they were always arranged in the same way. It is clear that this dinosaur moved on 4 limbs and that its hind legs were longer than the front ones. It's thought that the hind legs of the Ankylosaurus had 3 toes, as in other more evolved members of the family. The cervical vertebrae of adult Ankylosaurus have well-developed entheses, tendon attachment points. This indicates the presence of a strong neck designed to support a large dinosaur head. The dorsal vertebrae were short and close together. This suggests poor mobility of the spine, especially in the vertical plane. It's thought that the base of the ankylosaur's tail was very flexible, allowing it to bend at a large angle relative to the body. This mechanism was used by ankylosaurids for defense against predators. A bony club at the end of the tail was used for this purpose. Ankylosaurids' closest relatives, the dinosaurs of the Nodosauridae family, did not have these weapons. They only had strong armor for protection. There are no precise data on the position of the osteoderms on the back and neck of ankylosaurs because they're not found in articulated form in any of the available specimens. All variants of their arrangement are based on data obtained from the analysis of the remains of closely related species. Their length ranges from 1 to 35.5 centimeters. They're thin and convex on the underside. The back was probably protected by several rows of large plates. Their size decreased as they approached the pelvis. The lateral osteoderms were more square in shape. The neck of Ankylosaurus was protected by 2 semicircles of strong plates. The only known tail mace is 60 centimeters long, 49 centimeters wide, and 19 centimeters high. This formidable weapon had a semicircular shape and consisted of two osteoderms on either side of the tail. The tails of ankylosaurids such as Euplocephalus and Scolosaurus had a similar structure. They were narrower in Odontosaurus and more elongated in Diapolosaurus. In general, Euplocephals, Anodontosaurs, and Scolosaurs are the closest relatives of Ankylosaurs, and they all belong to three different holotypes of the same species of ankylosaurids. These animals lived about 75 to 76 million years ago in what is now the United States and Canada. They were up to 6 meters long and could weigh up to 2 tons. The largest Euplocephalus skull found is 478 millimeters wide and 411 millimeters long. One of the Scolosaurs found in the Canadian province of Alberta is a truly unique specimen. It's better preserved than any other known ankylosaur. Most importantly, this specimen's skin is intact. It's allowed scientists to reconstruct the presumed location of many osteoderms on the body of ankylosaurids. Currently, researchers have the remains of 40 individuals belonging to this species of ankylosaur. Most of them are connected in Alberta and Montana in the United States. The exact time and place of the appearance of the first ankylosaur is difficult to establish. It's known that the evolutionary branches of ankylosaurs and their closest relatives, the stegosaurs, diverged in the middle of the Jurassic period. Later, the armored herbivorous lizards split into ankylosaurids and nodosaurids. Ankylosaurids are essentially the more advanced of these two branches. Until recently, the earliest ankylosaur was thought to be an ankylosaurid genus such as Minmi. It was discovered in Australia in 1964. It lived there around 113 to 119 million years ago. At the beginning of the Cretaceous period, in many ways, this small lizard can be seen as a transitional form between ankylosaurs and nodosaurs. Different sources place it in one family or the other. It was named Minmi in honor of the pass where it was found. This baby weighed around 300 kilos and grew to a maximum of 3 meters in length. But remember that Australia was already isolated from the rest of the world at the beginning of the Cretaceous period, and perhaps the evolution of ankylosaurs just went its own way here. Externally, Minmi was similar to other ankylosaurs, but lacked a tail mace. In addition, its bony armor also protected its abdomen, and it had additional elongated spines on the sides of its thighs. These are thought to have served as a defense against a rear attack. It's likely that ankylosaurids, in their classic form, originated in Asia, where many members of the family have been found. Their remains date from the end of the Jurassic to the beginning of the Cretaceous. But recently, in 2021, the earliest ankylosaur to date was found in Morocco. It was named Spicomella or Spicomelus, which means collar with spikes. The find is estimated to be around 168 million years old. The title of the earliest stegosaur is being challenged by a find from Scotland that is a few million years older. But this dinosaur does not even have a name. What's more, scientists have not yet decided whether it was a stegosaurus or an ankylosaurus. Most of the known Europod dinosaurs, which include ankylosaurs and stegosaurs, lived on the Eurasian continent, which include today's northern continents. But Europods from Gondwana to Spicomella were virtually unknown to science. Previously, only Adrodiclet, a primitive Jurassic stegosaur, had been found on the continents of the southern hemisphere. On the one hand, Spicomella is a basal, for example, primitive ankylosaur, but on the other hand, it has a feature that is not characteristic of any armored dinosaur. Yes, and in general, there's no other vertebrae in nature that doesn't have its external armor attached directly to the bones of the skeleton. That's right, the osteoderms in Spicomelus were not built into the skin and soft tissues, they grew directly out of the bones. We don't know exactly how big this ankylosaur was. From the available fossils, scientists can only assume that its adult length was probably no more than 3 meters. At least two of Spicomelus's relatives lived on Earth at about the same time as Spicomelus. About 160 to 165 million years ago, the notosaurid Sarcolestes lived in the area that is now England. Its jaws are more similar to those of other notosaurs, but the structure of the teeth and the presence of a shell plate fused to the jawbone are more characteristic of ankylosaurs. Scientists believe it was a massive animal, not exceeding 3 meters in length. Sarcolestes did not have a tail claw. And in the territory of China, almost at the same time as Spicomelus, there lived a real ankylosaur called Ankylosaurus, which means lizard of the heavenly pond. It's worth noting that the original name of this genus sounded like Jurassic. This name was given in honor of Steven Spielberg's film Jurassic Park, as it was the famous director who funded the research into Chinese dinosaurs. There were even attempts to create the species name Jurassic from the surnames of the main stars of the first part of the film franchise, but as time went on, scientists decided to abandon this idea. It's quite difficult to get a detailed description of the appearance and size of Ankylosaurus. Currently, scientists have about 20 vertebrae, fragments of limbs, and scattered bone plates. It seems that about 110 million years ago, the evolution of North American and Asian ankylosaurs proceeded in much the same way. Since then, larger and larger varieties of these herbivorous lizards have appeared in both regions. They already have the appearance of classic ankylosaurids, with strong armor and a bone club at the end of the tail. Modeling the operation of such a weapon showed that an ankylosaur's tail could move at an angle of 100 degrees. A single blow from the club could have broken the limb of a fairly large predator. Moreover, as the dinosaur matured, the club became not only larger, but also much stronger. However, scientists have not yet been able to determine whether this weapon was used against predators or just for rivalry within the ankylosaur community. Late Asian ankylosaur species include Bicycipelta and Pinacosaurus. Bicycipelta is the first member of the family to be discovered in Uzbekistan. This 65 to 82 million-year-old ankylosaur was described in 2004. Its estimated length is 7 meters, and its body weight is 4 tons. Modeling of the Bicycipelta skull using the latest research methods showed that these lizards had excellent hearing and a good sense of smell. Scientists also discovered a unique brain cooling mechanism that these dinosaurs had developed during evolution. Pinacosaurs lived in Mongolia and China. They weighed up to 2 tons and grew up to 5 meters long. The age of the specimens found is between 75 to 80 million years. The skull length of an adult Pinacosaurus was about 30 centimeters. The lizard had 5 fingers on each foot. The back of Pinacosaurus was protected by oval plates. Among the armored dinosaurs from North America, it's impossible not to mention a lizard such as Borealopelta. Although it belongs to the notosaurids, its discovery can shed light on an important part of the description of ankylosaurs. This dinosaur was found in the Canadian province of Alberta. After death, it probably ended up at the bottom of a reservoir and was therefore better preserved than many other specimens. The specimen was described in 2017. In addition to the presence of unique long spines on the shoulders, scientists have been able to reconstruct another important detail of the lizard's appearance: its coloration during life. Studies have shown that Borealopelta's skin color was reddish-brown. In general, it was a fairly large notosaur, up to 5 meters long and weighing almost 1.5 tons. It's almost impossible to talk about all the ankylosaurs that scientists have described in one video. During the dinosaur era, dozens of genera and species of these unique lizards lived in Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Overall, it's clear that as they evolved, they grew larger and acquired more complex armor. Hopefully, over time, science will be able to shed light on the different characteristics of this whole group of amazing dinosaurs. As always, we'd like to thank those viewers who made it to the end of our latest video. If you'd like to learn more about the origins of other dinosaur species, as well as other fossils and modern animals, we recommend that you watch other episodes of the Dinosaur Age channel. You can also learn a lot of interesting things about the origin of man, the problems of modern society, and ecology.